traders? It's Johnny here with Trader X. Thank you guys so much for tuning back into the channel today. I hope you guys are all having a lovely Friday today. And I do apologize if you guys hear any noise in the background. We are having construction that's being done at our house, so it will get a bit noisy at times. So I do apologize for that. But I want to go ahead and get right into today's recap. So as you guys can tell from the screen, today was another red day, unfortunately. I was down $84 on the NASDAQ ETF, ticker symbol TQQQ, and I was up $34.79 on the inverse ETF, ticker symbol SQQQ, right? And then as far as my Tesla open position, you guys can see I was up $12 on it, so not much happened with that really. And so these are all my field orders on the left. You guys can see the times that I was buying in and out of everything, the quantity I was trading with, the ETF itself right here in the middle, and the prices here on the right. But let me go ahead and get right into today's recap. So pretty much what I wanted to talk about today was, what led to, me being red on the day, what I think I could have done better, right? Because it's always important on red days. They kind of like teach you a lesson, right? Like why didn't you end green today? And so I have to go over and analyze my trade and see, what led to me making money on some trades and losing and how I could improve. And so what I saw going on today was similar, as you guys know, to the rest of the week. Right at market open, the market tends to shoot up one way and then completely change direction. So that's ultimately what I was waiting for. As this thing shot up, it started to get rejected, right? And once it started to get rejected, I bought into the inverse ETF and then averaged up as it broke below the middle VWAP. And then I was able to cut the trade, right? And this is a mistake I made. So as this thing sold off, I cut majority of the shares I averaged up with, but then it started to change direction, right? I was expecting it to touch the bottom VWAP like it has been doing all week, where if it does sell off at market open, it'll approach bottom VWAP. And so as this thing started to reverse on me, instead of, cutting losses on the remaining shares I had, I kept holding on and on thinking it was going to actually sell off and touch bottom VWAP, right? So I kind of fell in love with the trade. And as this thing went south, I ultimately had to cut my shares here. So I literally went from, being green about like almost $100 on the day right off the bat to this thing changing direction on me and me having to cut my shares. And because I wrote, the remaining shares all the way up here, before I managed to cut losses, it lost me a decent amount of my profit. So I went from being up almost $100 to, after cutting the losses on the remaining shares, probably only up like, I would say $35 on the day, right? So that's a huge difference. And as this thing continued to pick up, right, ultimately it ended up changing directions. And so what I did a good job of today was going with the current direction, right? So as this thing was selling off and then picked back up, I tried getting into SQs to make more money. But ultimately what ended up happening is as this thing was aggressively selling off, it picked back up to the EMA and I decided to get into the inverse ETF again, right, to go with the flow, but ultimately broke above the EMA and then started to fall before ultimately correcting itself and making these higher highs, right? So it changed direction, and I did a poor job today of cutting my losses when direction was no longer in my favor, right? So as this thing started to pick up, I, continued to try to focus on SQs, thinking this thing was going to continue to, this descending pattern. But as you guys know, it changed directions. And so I started to pretty much just give away all my profits after the morning and I just continue to dig myself in a bigger hole, right? So what I think I could do better, well, in terms of when next week when I start to trade, what I'm gonna focus on is I am gonna cut my losses when this thing breaks above the EMA line if I'm ever in the inverse ETF, right? So what I mean is as this thing is aggressively getting rejected by the EMA line, once it approaches the EMA and doesn't struggle to fall or doesn't fall the way it has and struggles to and changes direction, that's gonna be signaling to me that, maybe it's gonna start changing direction and it would be in my best interest to get out of the trade, right? So rather than risk riding the remaining shares all the way up like I did today, right, on this little recovery here, what I'm gonna do next week is really focus on cutting my losses where it makes sense and potentially going with the flow and starting to go with, the change in direction. So as you guys notice, this thing changed direction, started to make these higher highs, broke below the EMA, pushed above it, made a bit of a triple top, right? Got rejected here, here, and here again. And as it fell, it started to, indicate signs of a downtrend again. Now it was pretty choppy the overall market today, right? Going, with its highs and lows and going all over the place, but there was definitely money to be made. And that's just something that I wanted to make you guys aware of, right? The what led to me losing money and what I could do better. So what I would recommend if you were trading and wanted to learn something is pretty much as this thing breaks above the EMA, say you're in the inverse ETF, it'd be in your best interest to just cut losses because of the fact that you can always get back in if this thing were to continue to sell off, right? So say this thing picked back up and then wanted to continue to sell off, you can always get back into the inverse ETF. I would just be a bit more patient if this thing broke above the EMA so strongly, right? Because it could indicate the fact that it will change direction. But as you guys can see, it changed directions quite a lot. So you just had to really be patient with, the current direction and going with the flow if you really wanted to, come out on top today. But that's ultimately what led to me losing money today. I did a poor job of managing my risk, and I think I did a good job of going with the flow today. So that is something I liked about myself. And in terms of my swing position on Tesla, what you guys will notice is I still only have those two shares. And the reason for that is, as you guys know, the market's still been pulling back. It hasn't made any indications at all that it's going to reverse, right? It's been continuously making these lower highs, lower lows, and anytime it approaches the SMA line, like it did over here, it consolidates. It consolidates for a brief period of time before it ultimately sells off again, right? So once it consolidated up here, it sold off. Now it is trading at the EMA. What we can expect to happen is this thing to get rejected and fall, or it can break above and maybe start to form higher highs and change the direction. So I am gonna be keeping a close eye on that. Once the Nasdaq starts to indicate signs of an uptrend, maybe break above this previous resistance level, and even the resistance it just had. Once it starts to do that, then I'll feel more comfortable adding to my Tesla position. But until then, I'm just gonna leave it as is because there's no point in throwing my money in something that's losing value over time, right? I wanted to start doing the exact opposite and pour my money into stuff that's increasing in value at the moment. And as of now, we just don't have that indication, so I'm gonna hold off on buying more Tesla. But that's ultimately everything I wanted to talk about today. I hope you guys are all able to end green and enjoyed your trading day today. If you guys are new to the channel, we really do appreciate you guys liking and subscribing the video because like I said, we are new and we are trying to grow, and we really want to make a welcoming community in terms of traders on YouTube where you guys can just tune in and feel okay with having red days and sharing red days. That's what we're all about. We want to really share red days, never hide them because there are lots of lessons to be learned from them, right? But yeah, that's everything I wanted to leave you guys with. The market is closed on Monday. I did want to make you guys aware of that for 4th of July. So it will only be 4 days of trading next week. So, yep, I will see you guys on Tuesday when we post a recap. We may have a video up on Monday. I'm not sure yet. Just a general video on stocks. But until then, we will see you guys Tuesday. I hope you guys all take care and have a good, amazing weekend and, enjoy the nice long holiday. And we will see you guys Tuesday. Take care.